when I take someone to the operating room, I'm actually operating on the thing that makes them who they are. The skin doesn't make them who they are. The hair doesn't make them who they are. And it's time for us to move beyond that.
Dr. Ben Carson, the neurosurgeon, in one of his outstanding moments in last night's Republican debate. Let's talk about that and more with our panel. Skyping in from Cleveland, the former Lieutenant Governor of the state of New York, Betsy McCaughey, and joining us from Newsmax, New York, noted radio and TV commentator Ellis Henican. Ellis, you hear Ben Carson. It is such a different take on race than we hear from the left. Was that Carson's finest moment in the debate?
It might have been his finest moment, although coming from me, you might call that faint praise, J.D. He sounded great. He's fine. I don't think he's got a lot of chance, but seems like a likable fellow. I wouldn't mind him doing my brain surgery.
Okay, then, and we hope the need never arises, and we'll resist any impulse toward humor in that regard, Ellis. Betsy McCaughey, is Dr. Ben just too soft-spoken a guy to break through, or did he win some points?
He was extremely well received by the audience last night. And let me point out that the viewership for this primary debate was 5 times as large as any viewership for a primary debate in American history. 5 times this big. And that's a tremendous tribute to the fact that there is such an array of talent up on that stage. Everybody wanted to hear them, including Donald Trump, the candidate who challenges political correctness.
Well, and I just want to talk more about that because you talked about an array of talent. But let's face it, the Donald was there, and Trump elicits all sorts of interest, does he not?
Well, he does. And let me just point out that I thought that the interviewers last night overplayed their hand in terms of questions that were almost dirty pool. For example, not only the questions to Trump, but even more so the question that was posed to Jeb Bush about the Bloomberg Foundation, when Jeb Bush made very clear what his uncomplicated and consistent position has been on Planned Parenthood.
Well, let's turn to Ellis. Do you agree with Betsy's assessment about the questioning?
No, of course not. I mean, at least people are running for president. Everything is fair game. You mean Donald Trump shouldn't have to answer for things he said, crude things he said about women, or not have to be asked whether he would run as a third-party candidate if his campaign fails sometime between now and next year? Everything, Betsy, is fair game when you're running for president of the United States.
You are so right, Ellis, but let me point out that most Americans want to hear what these candidates will do, not what they said 20 years ago. And the fact that sometimes people respond to new facts by taking a new position should be to their credit. Only in the world of politics do people get criticized for growing and maturing their positions on issues.
Well, speaking of growing and maturing, one of the younger candidates in the race, Senator Marco Rubio, the subject of several favorable comments. Ellis, even from the other side of the aisle, do you think Rubio sparkled last night in some way?
Oh, they all sparkled in some way. Listen, JD, this was fun. I mean, it was great theater. It was wacky. The questions were wild. The answers were all over the place. Donald Trump, of course, was the star of the show there in the center chair. But yeah, every one of them had a nice little moment and a few warm things if you were inclined to like them, a few reasons to like them, and if you were inclined not to, a couple of moments where they all seemed a little out of their depth. It was a wonderful evening, one of the best debates I've ever seen.
And it had a preliminary event. Betsy, because time grows short, I want to get to somebody else who was in that earlier event. The question came up about Donald Trump, and that question went to former Hewlett-Packard CEO Carly Fiorina. Take a listen to how Carly handled this in the opening debate.
Well, I don't know. I didn't get a phone call from Bill Clinton before I jumped in the race. Did any of you get a phone call from Bill Clinton? I didn't. Maybe it's because I hadn't given money to the foundation or donated to his wife's Senate campaign.
Now, Carly last night, not only with that interesting response on the matter of Trump, but in terms of national security, foreign policy, a lot of folks said she was the hands-down winner in the opening debate. Do you share that assessment, Betsy? Yep.
She was the hands-down winner, and she will likely be on the stage for the next major debate, replacing, for example, Rand Paul, who had a very bad night last night, as Donald Trump pointed out. But let me just correct one thing that Ellis said. He said it was a wacky night, and it was not, because the debate really focused on the three issues that Americans wanted to hear about: illegal immigration, promoting job growth, and restoring America's power and strength in the world.
Let me turn to Ellis and that opening event. Carly came out of it strong. Did somebody just crater in that opening event, in your opinion, Ellis?
Well, I mean, honestly, silence is the enemy of all of these people, right? So, you know, anyone in the debate, in either debate, frankly, who we're not talking about as a loser. I would apply in the big boy debate, I would apply that to Jeb Bush, who clearly didn't make a whole lot of impression. Maybe Lindsey Graham in the happy hour debate didn't really cut through. So at this point, other than Trump, all of them need to make impressions on us. And a few of them succeeded, and most of them didn't. So that's the way I would stack it up.
Betsy, go ahead. You have a response.
Yes, I would say the big winners were, as you pointed out, Marco Rubio, but also Chris Christie did a superb job. Ted Cruz did a way better job than many people had expected. He was very powerful on the stage. And Scott Walker held his own. I would say those were the four big winners. And in a very different way, Ben Carson was his elegant and very appealing self.
And we finish up where we began, with Dr. Ben Carson, Betsy McCaughey in Cleveland, Ellis Henican in New York. To you both, our thanks. There's more ahead, so stay with us.